Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody, to the Gamer Cup podcast. We have a special guest. CJ Stroud is in the building. And also Bradley Lamb of the C9
Hello.
Strouds. Welcome,
Thank you.
welcome.
Good to be here.
How's it feel to be here?
It's good. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Season's nearing the halfway point. A lot to go over. A lot to be excited about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's just get right into it. So we're 7 weeks in. I know a lot on people's mind is the draft coming up. Maybe I should move away the power rankings and not just immediately have it shown. But we'll talk about the power, or talk about how the draft order is created. So Bradley, you were doing some research. You have a rough idea of how the rookie draft order will be decided.
Yeah, so from what I've seen, the best approach for this to kind of avoid tanking, avoid people just throwing seasons away, is to base it on essentially every week your highest possible scoring lineup gets summed throughout the season, and then your draft order is based on the inverse of that. So if you have a couple good players and you're just benching them to try and tank for a good draft spot, it's not going to work.
Hmm.
So it helps avoid things like that.
Right. So let's use one individual as an example. We'll use Adam Rocket as a example. We'll go to week two. So week two, Adam put up a huge amount of numbers of 212.4 points in that 1 week. So that plus, let's say week one, that's 135.32. Week three, he did 146.62. Week four, he did 144.62. Then he slides week five with 104.32. In week six, 102.76. Would add up all of those. Well, I guess the total amount of what his team would have done. So I guess the best his team would have done is actually 134.32. But basically, you add those all up together, divide by 6 based on the 6 weeks we are so far, and that would determine him where he is in the draft order currently. Once all 17 weeks have gone through, it'll be more clear, obviously, but basically, don't worry about I need to put some player who's going to be ass in my lineup because it also determines based off of your bench and what your like best lineup would have been, and that determines draft. It's a little draft order, right? So that it's a little confusing, and we could try and continue having this discussion so then people have a bit more of an understanding of it. But again, this is year one, so we're going through the turbulence of trying to figure everything out, and this is a for fun league at the end of the day, so let's have some fun with it. Now that we kind of got that out of the way, we had on the docket to talk about quickly trades. There weren't any massive trades from what I remember. Just some waiver prio stuff. Obviously,
Malik
me and
Willis
Ryan,
is on waivers.
who
That's a big one.
Malik Willis is on waivers. Yeah, that was a little shocking. I don't know why you drop a QB to get Dearness Johnson, who's 28 years old, who had one good game this entire year, but hey, to each their own. Um, the only trade, I mean, we all know that I traded for Chris Olave, and then now shockingly we found out today that Rashid Shaheed is out for the season, so that's pretty heavy in my favor now. So thank you, Ryan. But I also think, Michael Penix would do great for you in the future. Um, Brad, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, Olave is definitely the focus point of that offense, and he's just, I feel like, probably going to get more volume with Shaheed being out. For the future, though, I do really like Penix. I think him being able to sit behind Kirko Chains and just see what this guy does on a daily basis. I mean, Penix is already kind of an older quarterback, but just being able to develop even further behind Kirko is going to be pretty valuable for him. He could be really useful in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he'll be great. And Ryan got to rebrand his team, which was pretty sick. He is now
Young QB daycare.
the young QB daycare. It's hard to see on the picture here, but you can see it more easily on the app, which it's a great photo. And I actually also rebranded my team from the Last Dance to LSU Balls and OSU Hands. Now that I have secured the Exodia of OSU players, Adam, if you're listening, to really complete the Exodia, I do need Marvin Harrison. So we could talk offline about that. um, but anyways, let's just go into our power rankings, right?
Let's
So,
do it.
Brad, do you want to kind of lead the way with the power rankings?
Yeah, so I mean, unanimous ranking between the two of us for the best team in the league right now. It's LSU ball, OSU hands. I mean, your team is absolutely giga stacked. You've got the highest average score of any team, and you've just been getting more pieces every week, which is kind of insane. Your deepest flex player is JSN, which is kind of insane. Um, I think the ceiling is really high for your team.
Ooh, the
I really
glaze, the
like your
glaze. Ooh.
like the quarterback situation too is amazing with Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow, two of like the strongest LSU quarterbacks to come out of the draft in the past handful of years. I will say I hate the meatball as your RB2.
I know you
I
hate the
think
meatball.
overall your team is so strong, but the meatball is the RB2. He's the one thing holding the team
Mm-hmm.
down.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I don't really see
Jonathan
any
Brooks,
weaknesses.
week 15. Yo, look at the end of the schedule. Jonathan Brooks, he has an easy cakewalk for the playoffs. I'm excited for him. But uh but yeah, now
Yeah.
yeah, so the negative is Mr. Meatball. So now we have Seth. We have Seth ranked. You had him ranked 3. I had him ranked 2. Average ranking is 2.5. Um, what are your thoughts on Seth?
I mean, Seth's team, he's got great running backs. Jameer Gibbs, Bijan, two absolute studs that have a pretty solid floor and a huge ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Any week, those two could both pop off for huge numbers. Quarterbacks, Bo Nix, I feel like is one of the big surprises out of the draft. I thought he was going to be ass. I thought that Denver team was going to be ass. He's a
Mm-hmm.
lot better than I think a lot of us thought.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Wide receiver is why I ranked him lower than you.
Yeah, I
Lad
could see that.
McConkey is wide receiver one is a little tough. He's been great so far, and he's a rookie, so he should only get better. But I think wide receiver is the big weakness for Seth's team.
Yeah, I've been really like surprised on how he's been hitting with these wide receivers. Like they just seem like fucking dog shit low key, but then they just put up numbers. It's crazy. Like Wando Robinson just going off this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean Kirk got 6
Josh
point.
Downs has been a stud.
Josh Downs has been good. Darna Mooney just got so much better because of Kirk. Um, Pitts is surprisingly doing well for once. Um, but yeah, if he has bye weeks or those guys get injured or they don't get the production that they normally get, he can easily be sliding in the power rankings, which I understand why you ranked him at 3 and is kind of why we have
Mm-hmm.
him at a 2.5 rather than a solid 2. Um, Next on the power rankings is the Cheez It Munchers.
Yeah, I mean for Kieran's team, I ranked him higher, a lot higher than you. You ranked him 4, I ranked him 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the second best team in the league.
He's got a really
His
strong team.
focus, I mean, yeah, for a PPR league, he has amazing wide receivers. Mike
Yeah,
Evans, AJ Brown, DK, T. Higgins, like these are stud wide receivers.
they're pretty
I
sick.
really don't like Deshaun Watson as QB1.
I
That
hate
is
that. I hate
the biggest
what?
downside. Running
Yeah.
backs aren't that great. I mean, Jordan Mason's been great. Najee Harris has been great so far, but we'll see how that continues. Justin Fields getting benched for
Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson, and I think is
That's a
just
tragedy for him.
I
And I
don't
mean,
understand why they did that.
he's literally the number 6 key. I mean, yeah, he didn't do great, I guess, versus Las Vegas, but like for like a fantasy perspective, like he's number 6 in the league. Like, what the hell?
I don't know what they're doing. I think there's a good chance Russ goes out and shits the bed. And we'll
Yeah,
see if Fields gets back in, but I
Mr.
don't know why they benched him.
Unlimited diarrhea. um, I ranked him lower to 4, and my main concern is honestly, like I've said it numerous times, but it's it's his running backs. Like I think Najee Harris is just a super mid running back, and he has no real guarantee contract for the future. Like I think this guy has maybe 1 or 2 years left on his contract with the Steelers, and there's nothing showing that they're gonna re-sign him or do like a 4-year extension like the Patriots did with Ramondre Stevenson. Um, so yeah, but I mean for this week, I mean he has a pretty freaking strong team. Just Deshaun Watson,
Hmm.
I don't like that, and I think he can easily get him 5 points. So that's why I ranked him at 4, and we have him at an average rank of 3. Um, so we have next is the running brats at a 3.5. I ranked running bats at 3. Brad, you ranked running brats at 4. What's your analysis on them?
Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of an exciting matchup because
Mm-hmm.
Jackie and Kieran both play each other this weekend.
Super exciting.
Um, I really like the quarterback situation Jackie has. Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff. I remember in the draft, she didn't draft a quarterback for a handful of rounds,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought the team was going to be ass.
Yeah,
But these guys have been shown out week in and week out.
they have.
She's got James Cook, who's been solid. Um, Jamar Chase is a huge ceiling. Amon-Ra St. Brown again. I mean, looking at this team now, I might actually rank it a bit higher. Um, I feel like her ceiling is really high on
Yeah,
this
my.
team.
I mean, the concern is like a little bit of the flex, and the tight end right now is a huge like a huge hole that needs to be covered up. Um, she does have Horace Cockinson, who, if he can come back this year, and if he's anything like last year, like this team can go really far in playoffs.
Yeah, like the ceiling is really high. The depth isn't necessarily there, but Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra,
Hmm.
amazing pieces, and Baker and Jared Goff have been great so
Yeah,
far. So we'll see how that
great
matchup
team
plays
all
out this
around.
week.
And then both Brad and I put Trevor at 5. Bradley, again, hand the baton over to you. You want to start it off?
Yeah. So Trevor's team, we will not yield. Again, kind of a pretty solid QB situation with Gino and Jordan Love. I really, really like Jordan Love
Hmm.
going into the season. I think he was a great draft pick.
He's been doing
He's going to be
really good.
solid.
Got 34 points
Exactly.
this
Like
week. Last week.
exactly. Like kind of going back to the Penix argument, like just a quarterback that gets to sit behind a really great vet and
Hmm.
just learn from him. He's
It's
going to ball out,
yeah.
and he's signed to a huge contract. Um, and the wide receivers are great. I'm just not a huge fan of the RB2 on this team, especially with the rookie in Carolina coming in soon, Jonathan Brooks.
Hmm.
Other than that, I really like this team.
Yeah. It's a great team. I think Trevor's issue is that he can't consistently get like the right pieces starting in. Like last week, he would have beat me if he had Romeo Dobbs, Montgomery, or I forgot who else, but like or it was Keenan Allen. He like 3 people who were on his bench. If he just put them in the flex, just any single one of them, he would have beat me. And it like he is currently 2-4, but his team does not put up numbers like a 2-4 team.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to what we talked about at the beginning, how the draft order selected, leaving points on the bench is a huge detriment not only to your playoff chances, but also it hurts your draft pick in the future.
Mhm. Mhm. But overall, Trevor's got a really nice team, and if he can get the right pieces, starting, he can go really far in playoffs. He can really run. He could take a nice shot at me. He took a really nice shot last week, and I was really worried. I was shaking in my boots last week. I was so scared. Um, but on to the next. We got Adam, Permanent Taxi Squad. I ranked him at 7. Brad ranked him at 6. We got a consensus at 6.5. Um, I will say I ranked him differently from 6 to like you did 6. I would have done 6 as well, but I dropped him to 7 specifically because of the past 2 weeks and last week, especially with Ryan, who we'll go into shaming him earlier or later in the video, but like Adam should have lost this game. Adam should be 2-4 right now. He very narrowly escaped. only putting up 102 points, like this is not good numbers if you want to make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean Adam's a team who made a trade to better his team. Um, Obviously, it kind of hurt him last week because I mean, it didn't hurt him because he traded a draft pick, but Bulletproof Brian didn't play last week.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be a huge buff for Adam's team moving forward. The guy just gets fed points. Great red zone threat, especially when you have a huge threat like Jaden Daniels as your
Mm-hmm.
quarterback.
Number
I'm the
17 running
number
back.
one. He's just great all around, and that's missing a week.
And he's got A-Chain on
I'm
the on bench.
He's got A Chain, he's got Kamara. I'm the number one Purdy hater. I think he's massively overrated, but he does put up fantasy points.
Rank 8.
So you can't complain about that. He's
Mm-hmm.
also got Aaron Rodgers, who's now linking up with Devontae.
Yeah.
Could see a huge buff moving forward with that.
Yeah. Pretty solid team all around. It has really good potential. Just for whatever reason, it just hasn't recently in the past 2 weeks. But hey, maybe this week is the week. All right, and next we got Reese here at an average rank of 7. I ranked Reese at 6, and you ranked him at 8. Pretty big difference there.
Yeah, I mean, Reese has, I think he had the second or third pick in the draft. He's got Josh Allen, who's a stud and going to put
Mm-hmm.
up a lot of numbers generally every week. Aiden O'Connell, though, as your QB flex, I don't have a lot of faith in that.
Oh no, I didn't realize he
Uh,
had Aiden O'Connell. Oh, and he lost Devontae Adams too. I mean,
yeah,
he
he's
wasn't even
made
playing,
trades to
but
kind of build more towards the future.
yeah,
So he's
he
got a
got
bunch of great like young pieces. Like Brian Thomas Jr. has been great. Jameson Williams has been a much bigger part of the Detroit offense
compared to
recently.
last year. Yeah,
Exactly. But overall, kind of a middle of the pack team. I'm not a huge believer in J.K. Dobbins, but he's been putting up points so far, so we'll see if he continues to do that.
JK, he is still good, apparently. All right.
So, you know,
Next we got the Hut Tuas Xander. We got him at a average ranking of 7.8 or 7.5. Sorry, I ranked him at 8. Bradley ranked him at 7. That's pretty high. I think he was like ranked 9 last week. What's your analysis over him?
so I really like Kyler. I really like Herbert. His quarterbacks are great. I mean, in a super flex league, that's one of the big things I look for is quarterback play. He's got two solid quarterbacks currently and moving forward in the future.
Mm-hmm.
His running back situation, I'm not a huge believer in James Conner and Tony Pollard, but they've been putting up points so far. I really love Stephon Diggs and Cooper Cup, especially with Nico Collins going out for at least a couple weeks. I think these guys can put up numbers. What concerns me about Xander's team is Jonathan Mingo is the wide receiver 3. That's a little scary.
Mingo, Mongo, Mingo, Mango, Mongo. That is not the guy you want as your wide receiver 3. Maybe flex, not as your wide receiver 3. It's tough, but I mean he has some really good tight ends, which is kind of like it's really interesting, you know, like he has Trey McBride, number 4 tight end in the league, and obviously Travis Kelsey. I mean, he's number 13 in the league right now, but he's like always number 1 from like previous years.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he just loves his tight ends and he believes in his tight ends. He just his wide receiver room is, sorry to say, fucking awful. um, we really need to shore up that wide receiver room either through trades or through the draft, or if you see anyone interesting in the waivers, you gotta get someone because these guys are just not doing it. Unfortunately, you lost Brandon Cooks, who did well in the first week, but then just did absolutely nothing later on. But I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he has the pieces to really pop off. And Cooper Cup is coming back probably this week, and that should be a huge boost.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe, like you said, through Tracy, you get Marvin Harrison Jr., and then he's got pretty much the entire Arizona offense. And then he's
Yeah.
cooking.
Oh my God, Adam, you gotta trade Marvin Harrison to Xander. Oh, the trifecta. He's gonna build Exodia with the Arizona Cardinals. But when they're on bye week, holy, it's a hamstring for sure.
A free week for whoever's playing him.
um, and so now we don't have an 8. We actually have Ty with Sushant and Jake, I ranked Jake as 10. Brad ranked him 9. I ranked Sushant 9, and uh, Brad did Sushant as 10. So let's just start with Jake since the spreadsheet I guess has him higher than Sushant for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm looking at these two teams,
It's tough.
I think I might have mixed them up, to be honest. Because looking at Sushan's team, I really like Sushan's team.
Do we?
I like Jake's team as well, but
Yeah.
I think there's more holes in that team.
He yeah, and I mean like Jalen Waddle, like he has just not been performing like we all expected him to. D Hop has been non-existent with Will Levis as his quarterback, and then you don't have Christian McCaffrey, which is just the biggest gut punch. Um, I mean, he has CD Lamb, and CD Lamb is not playing this week. Honestly, maybe we may have to retroactively drop him down after
Yeah,
reviewing his team. And he has Rashad White on the bench because Rashad is losing his job. Honestly, he's about to go start applying over at LinkedIn.
yeah, that backfield started to look more and more like a running back by committee. But to Jake's point, I really like the quarterbacks again. Sam Darnold and Kirko have been fantastic. His running backs are great, and Kyron and Joe Mixon.
He's got
His
a lot of
wide
really good running
receivers,
backs.
exactly, and like Deontay Johnson's been pretty good, especially with Andy Dalton.
He
Um,
has like first 2 weeks with Bryce Young 3.9, 4.5, and then Andy Dalton comes in 26, 21, 5, 19. Like, are you kidding me?
yeah, he's that guy.
Apparently, did not expect it, but he's that guy. And let's go to Sushant, since they're basically tied in our rankings right now.
Yeah,
Sushant,
Sushan's team.
can,
It's just you can go ahead for this one.
I mean, yeah, it's just it's like the you click on his team and you're like, man, this team's disgusting. You got Patrick Mahomes, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Brandon Ayuk, Jacoby Myers, Amari Cooper, Sam Laporta, Aaron Jones, and Javante Williams, Devonta Smith. You know, like there's some high points. There's some definite high points, but for whatever reason, it just has not been able to do it. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of strange looking at this team, thinking how is Sushant 2-4? Doesn't have that strong of an average point scored, but I think the big thing here is he only has one quarterback that's starting. I mean, Pat Mahomes is
yeah.
great, but he's not necessarily great for fantasy. But his running backs are amazing. His wide receivers are great and has a lot of depth, especially with Cooper going to the Bills now. I think he's just going to be even better.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Laporte is your tight end. That feels great. I think the one big thing holding Sushan back is not having a starting second quarterback,
JJ
especially receivers like
McCarthy
Eckler.
being out for this year did not like that. He drafted JJ thinking that he was going to start.
Mm-hmm.
That's unfortunate. He should have traded you for Trevor Lawrence. I got him on the bench now. I'll give. Don't worry, Shushad. I'll give you Trevor Lawrence for 2 firsts. Let's go on to the next gamer. We got you, Brad. We consensus ranking of 11 all across the board. Look at that. Do you wanna hype yourself up, or do you want me to go first?
You take the lead. I'll
All right.
follow up.
All right. Well, I mean, Bradley's team at the beginning of the year, it like you really knew that Bradley was going for rookie depth. Like he was going for young studs that would just pop the fuck off. I mean, he's got C.J. Stroud, who is like one of the best um, young QBs coming out. Last year, he was just absolutely amazing. He's ranked 10 this year. He's doing great this year. Then just absolutely nailing with a pick when you pick someone like Malik Neighbors. He is just absolutely out of control. This guy is the Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson of this year, this rookie year. It's crazy. But you got Zay Flowers and he's great. He pops off, but he has some weak moments like week 1, week 3, week 4. Um, you got Xavier Leggett, who didn't do well. I believe the first 2 weeks. Yeah, did 3 weeks didn't really do anything, and then week 4 got 19 points, and then most recently got 11.3. Like you got Christian Watson who's been pretty mid, and then all of a sudden this past week he did 15.8. And then Kean Coleman, who we all thought was going to do well, is just not putting double digit points. Like the only time he did double digit points was week 5, and like you have really good like growth for the future. Just this year they just can't. The rookies are just not putting it together.
Yeah, and I mean that was kind of my plan going into the draft is to get a bunch of young players and build towards the future. That's why I was so high on CJ Stroud. He's 23 years old and looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's going to be around for, I mean, hopefully 20 more years,
Mm-hmm.
which sounds crazy, but I mean,
43.
nowadays it's possible. Yeah. Running back is probably my weakest spot. Pacheco going out definitely hurt my team a lot, but he's still a young player that can develop in the future. But starting Julian McLaughlin feels horrendous.
Yeah,
Uh,
the game's starting right now. He hasn't gotten a single point.
See, it's still at 0, which hurts. And like you said, like the younger wide receiver talent, I think that's one of the stronger sides of my team.
Mm-hmm.
If they can develop in the future, right now they're super inconsistent.
Yeah,
But I'm hoping that in the future they can develop. But right now, the team is not
they
looking
just need to
great.
develop. They just got to develop. But you got a strong
Mhm.
future ahead of you. Now, one person who may have a pretty questionable future ahead of them is the young QV daycare, aka Ryan Ling, where I think everyone knows that he is 12th. Um, Bradley, please just start it off.
So, Ryan, after the draft, I looked at your team and I wondered how on earth did he draft such a horrible team? No flame, no flame. But the more I look at it, there are things I like. I mean, you've got Jalen Hurts. He's great. Um, you traded for Penix. I think he's going to be great in the future.
Michael
Your running
Penis.
backs are a little questionable. You have like a 40-year-old man and Raheem Mostert. I'm not a huge fan of that. You have Jalen Warren, who's a meatball. I don't like him. Your wide receivers are like nice and young. You have a nice young core of receivers that could develop really well, kind of similar to my team, hopefully. Um, but as it stands right now, there's just not a lot to love about this team.
And unfortunately, like the young wide receivers that he has, obviously Jaden Reed is doing well. We all know that. Even in redraft leagues, people want him, but like there's a lot of room. There's a lot of depth in that wide receiver room. You got Christian Watson, you got Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Daniels. There's a lot of mouths to feed there, and there's some inconsistencies with his weeks. And Tank Dell, Tank Dell is similar. You know, Tank Dell has Stephon Diggs, and I mean he did have Nico Collins in there, but um, it's tough to get him the ball. There's a lot of mouths to feed. And Jordan Addison, you know, he's playing with Justin Jefferson. You know, he gets a lot of targets. So it's tough when you have really good wide receivers that are on lineups. Oh hell yeah, we got the doggy out. But you got wide receivers that are in wide receiver rooms that have a lot of mouths to feed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think. I mean, they're good, solid young wide receivers, but they're in crowded rooms, so it's hard
Right.
for them to really break out. Maybe it'll happen a couple of years from now, but for right now, it's kind of hard.
Yeah. I mean,
Brock Bowers, I think, is the big highlight for this team.
love this pick. I was so tilted when he picked him. I picked up
Mhm.
Saquon Barkley over, like, because he picked Brock Bowers. I got Saquon Barkley, so like I'm okay with that now that I look back at it. But like, man, I wanted this motherfucker so bad.
Yeah,
This guy's looking like a beast. It looks like he's gonna be generate. He's a generational talent. He's gonna be on that team for a long time. That's one of the shining stars you have on that team, for sure.
yeah. Hold on to him for dear life. He's 21 years old.
And he's got a Donnie
That's the guy
Mitchell,
to
Troy
yeah.
Franklin. Like you got guys that need some years, but like maybe after 2 3 years, like they hit their breakout, kind of like Nico Collins after on his third year. But as of right now,
Mhm.
it's just it ain't doing it, and that's why we got you at 12.
He does have Spencer Rattler, who's 2 for 3 and 39 yards right now.
Holy dude,
Pretty big.
that's huge. That is huge.
Better than Julian McLaughlin.
Better than Jaleel McLaughlin, that's for sure. All right. Well, Um, any final words before we head out for this to watch the game because the game's happening right now?
In
Oh wait,
Like,
shaming. We
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
shame. We gotta do a little shaming. Um, we have two teams that we definitely need a shame right now.
Mhm.
Ryan would have beat the living fuck out of Adam if he put Spencer Rattler in, and Adam would be 2-4 right now. Ryan, you deserve all the shame in the world. Anthony Richardson was not playing. I put out a memo. I try to put out a memo every single week. We all know, please check your lineups before 10 a.m. Got to get your guys in there. I know, you know, when it comes to your draft picks, it's not necessarily reliant on who you start, but that can be considered, tanking. That can be considered manipulation, and we don't want that in this league. We want everyone to try their hardest with their lineups that they have, and if they do bad, they do bad, and if you do bad, then you got a good pick, in the upcoming year. So it's like, it's good, but like, we don't want you to do bad on purpose. We want you to have, the most optimal lineup possible.
Yeah, not starting a player isn't going to give you a better draft pick, so there's no reason to do it. And as far as that goes, Ryan, I have one thing to say to you.
Unlimited diarrhea.
I don't know if that'll show up in the video, but unlimited
I
diarrhea,
think it
Ryan.
will. I think it will.
Unlimited diarrhea.
Unlimited diarrhea. And speaking about another person with unlimited diarrhea, Jacob, I know you're in Poland, so it's a little bit, more difficult for you up there. Um, but you can't be starting Rashad White when he is not playing. Um, you had plenty of depth on your bench. Now, yeah,
It's
I
just
mean, you had Gabe
disrespectful
Davis.
too.
It is also disrespectful. I mean,
To put up 40 on me while starting a guy who didn't even play is just disrespectful.
yeah, he did beat you with a blank on his team, which is kind of
Yeah,
shocking. I mean,
that
all
hurts.
you
That
all you
hurts.
it does, it hurts the ego. I mean, all you do is you move DeAndre Swift from the flex, you put him in the starting RB, and then you go down here to Gabe Davis, and you're like, all right, I'm putting Gabe Davis in on my flex because why wouldn't Gabe Davis do well? I don't know. I understand you
You
got
might lose
Kyron
by
Williams on
60.
bye, but yeah, then Bradley loses by 160. There you go. Even he loses even harder. Bruise his ego. Flame Horizon him. But even though you won, you still deserve some flame because you could have done even better. And that's what it's all about: to play for fun, but to play hard.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I think that will conclude this pod. I had a lot of fun, Brad. Thanks for joining.
Hey, one last thing. Sushant and Jake, we need team names.
Yeah,
We need some team names.
Team J Burn 98. That ain't gonna cut it. Come on, go look at your lineup. Make a creative name. Uh, Sushant Team Skilambi 246. Come on, let's make a little bit of a creative name with the squad you got.
Let's cook.
Let's cook. All right. Good luck, and may the odds be ever in your favor.